The Global Community Conversation, a Various Fields series special, Various Dialogues.
Welcome one and all. This is Various Fields. I'm Lex.
I'm Hazen Fields II.
And I'm Trey. How y'all doing, interwebs?
And we have a very special guest, Orlondo Otis Hundley. Rapper, poet, publisher, author, and, not to be known, running for mayor in Schenectady.
Yes. Go ahead, man.
All right.
That's all right. That's it.
We are very excited to have you.
Yes.
We are very excited to have you here on Various Fields.
Mm-hmm.
I just want to let everyone know behind camera, at least on camera on stage, I think we got like maybe 2 minutes of talking.
Yeah.
And the first thing you asked me about was, hey, what are you reading when I brought my comic books?
Yeah.
And I wanted to jump straight there first and get into everything else.
Yeah.
But I find it just really, really cool. That was one of the first things you noticed.
Yes, of course.
And also, I need to know, what do you read? What's your relationship with comics?
I grew up thanks to YouTube, because like you couldn't buy every comic as a kid,
Yes.
But shout out to the comic historian who recently who passed away.
Mm-hmm.
But thanks to him, I got to learn about so many of the great comic stories. My personal weird favorite superhero is Hawkeye. I like the idea of a guy standing next to the God of Thunder, the Hulk, Iron Man, and he just goes, let me get these arrows out. Very human, but Spider-Man is obviously Batman, and the older we get, and the way the world works, we be questioning Batman nowadays. He's gonna need to prove himself in the next couple runs. But I obviously comics is very huge for me, but also anime and manga. I grew up just talk about accessibility. Manga was, it was just so much more accessible than comics growing up.
Right.
So I got to read things like Naruto week to week. And I'd be able to go online every time a chapter of Naruto dropped, and I read Naruto every week, and so that was one of my favorite comics mangas growing up. And shout out to Comic Historian, and then I'm a huge One Piece fan.
Who's
your favorite character? Luffy. And then Buggy's up there for me.
Buggy's up there?
I don't. And I love the way that Oda inverts the stories and how you meet people. And then just the more, every time you see them, you learn more about them. And then even and I even connect that to running for mayor or being on social media.
Yes.
Because sometimes people see one video of you and then they'll judge you on that one video.
Right.
And then it takes them seeing another video or seeing you in another moment or seeing you in another interaction, or even for a lot of people seeing me with someone they know, whether they know me from the internet or they know me from my life. And then it just sheds new light. So that's just a formula that I implement in my outreach on social media.
I just want to jump right in because I'm listening to what you're saying, and I love the fact that we're seeing the multifaceted person. Sometimes we see a one-dimensional politician, if you were.
Yeah.
And I think it becomes difficult when we start putting a person as a politician before they make them a human being.
Yes.
I like seeing the human being, and I love the fact that you utilize the Hawkeye character, who is just a guy, essentially, but willing to stand before those who consider themselves or are considered most powerful. And I think that's what you're doing right now as you're running for mayor. You have a lot of arrows in your quiver, is that right?
They don't even know.
And you're standing against those who would suggest that they're more powerful. So how do you balance that in reference to your run for mayor?
Well, I did an interview recently, and thank you so much for what you just said, because we talked before, and I wanted to bring up George Washington Carver, and for that exact reason, we tend to like view people, especially in like Black figures, as one dimensional. But we're so many notes.
Right.
So I see it as, you know, the fact that I'm even here. Some people don't find it surprising at all that I'm reaching this many people.
Right.
But some people are perturbed by it. And the reality is that so much of our society and what we're told is that everything is merit-based. But when you really get down to, you know, like the nitty-gritty of it, so many people find themselves in situations and positions of power on accident or in reality because they've had this, in a series of their lives, they've been able to fail up. You know, and failing up is a big thing that, I mean, I just see it everywhere. You know, people like a train will derail and they go, you know what, let's promote the guy that was, you know, overseeing the scheduling of the trains. You know, he made it through that pretty good, you know, and it's about how badly you can, you know, escape and become unscathed by, you know, some of the most like damning things, you know? So that's a big thing about it. And then just attacking it, you know, because like when you talk with people who, you know, they have no reason to change and, you know, it is so much of this is a negotiation and it comes down, politics comes down to who do you want negotiating for you? Who do you want representing you? And, you know, it's our representatives are so detached from us. And so when you're talking to these people who have no reason to change and they know who they represent, it becomes about how many ways can you dislodge them from their worldview and the perspective that people have of them? And how can you get people to see that so much of like what's going on in American politics and global affairs, in the music industry, in so many walks of life is it's not a law of gravity. You know, these things can change. So I approach that through humor. I approach that through social media. I've approached that through music. I've approached that through language. I've approached that through poetry. And I believe in, you know, in the jack of all trades. You know, they're like master of none. Right. But you know, better to be a master of some. Yeah. You know, so that is my approach, and that's you know, like people want authenticity, they want vulnerability, and they want capability. They want the, you know, so I attempt to balance all those things. And once again, I always go back to this. People will see one video, you know, and, you know, really, people don't get 700 views, a lot of views. Right. 17,000 views, a lot of views. Yes. 1 million views, too many views. You know, and if you know, when you put yourself under that microscope or, you know, in the view of that telescope, you know, you just gotta let it all hang out. And you know, some of these people, they're so composed and everything is so detailed and everything is so well worked that it just doesn't work. You know, and that's the space we're in. That's generally the space that we're in, and I found success across industry.
Excellent. So unloading the quiver a little bit more, because you have many hats that you've worn in the past. So can you tell us a little bit more about yourself directly, and why did you decide to pick up politics? The origin story. Oh yes. So my mother is from Albany. My father is from Schenectady. So I am just like this. You know, I spent my whole childhood in Schenectady and went to Schenectady High School. And, you know, thankfully, Schenectady High School is a huge high school, very diverse. And, you know, people who went to Schenectady High School have, you know, fairly have an advantage over, you know, a lot of people because we were having conversations that we didn't know how advanced they were, and just on the basis of diversity, and you know, just on the basis of how many different walks of life that were, you know, like in Schenectady High School. So, you know, my ability to communicate across cultures, across religions, is something that I didn't even know I was learning. You know, so that's one of the greatest strengths. And then my grandmother, she was a state worker who lived in Albany, and she had an office filled with encyclopedias. So I was just reading encyclopedias, you know, before I even went to school. You know, so in kindergarten, I was just in kindergarten naming things just because I just messing around with encyclopedias for, you know, the prior couple years. And, you know, so I was always around music like James Brown,
And just like my grandfather, who was my mother's stepfather, Michael Folsom, he worked at Cafe Capriccio in Albany, and Italian restaurant, very popular in Albany.
I love that place, by the way. I was just there not too recently.
Oh, amazing! Yes, no. So, and he's just like he worked. My grandfather Michael, he just passed away. And thank you. He put some of the sweaters I was wearing in high school on my back. So like even the way I dress was so inspired by him, and just like what I look for when I'm in the thrift store. I go. There are two people I think about. I go, well, would Grandpa Michael wear this, or my friend Rick Sacchetti from Schenectady? I go, if those two guys would wear it, I'm probably confident. So there's that, and I mean, coming up, it's you when I was in school, and this is like a big thing, because I just recently, I just got over severe stage fright. I could do public speaking, I could do stand up. But I couldn't perform music. I was music was always my passion. Because it was always just another extension of language, and just the science and the logic of how you can make something that doesn't make sense make sense. So and that stemmed from and it's I'll unload it because I hope she sees this.
Please.
And third grade was a hard year. Orlondo Otis Hundley II.
Yes.
Because it was this. One time, and I don't know if anyone from this class remembers this, but everyone got time out but me. Oh. So and it's as a kid, I used to bring a blade to school with me every day. So for 30 minutes, I just spun a blade. And it was not a good look. Not a good look
For our audience.
Yeah. So, but a mixture of that, and then always being the first to answer questions.
Right.
It just. Even the talent show that year where I wanted to tap dance, and I tap danced in some dress shoes that my mom got from Marshall's, and I get done with the talent show and the auditorium's filled with everyone, it's students, teachers, and I felt like no one clapped, so and I just tapped my little heart out. So that's where the stage fright that I was getting over came from, and then this is an interpersonal moment with a teacher I had. I had a blueprint because I was really big into designing and inventing. I used to take apart DVD players and put them back together. My dad caught me mid-process one time. He goes, "You broke my DVD player." No, I just hadn't had time to put it back together.
That's fair.
But I show her this blueprint of an umbrella that was meant for hurricanes, so it was and it's crazy design, it's a real Willy Wonka-esque design. It wasn't my best work, but it was an umbrella with shower curtains around it and weighted at the bottom. And she goes, I show it to my third grade teacher, Mr. Salvatore, and she goes, "This will never work." Yeah. So, things like that, I had to, and it's when you're a kid and you're dealing with all that stuff, you might take that as a no. And a no might seem like forever, but it's just continually going back to the drawing board and then never really stripping away the core of my curiosity. The core of my empathy, the core of my expression. And I've switched out a third grade teacher telling me this will never work for people who don't really for people who don't want the world to change, even on a local level, because on a local level, and it's why the campaign is touching so many people is because I'm bringing up Schenectady things that people from Schenectady didn't even know about.
Right.
And the things I'm talking about in Schenectady cut to the core of every other small city, every other village where they're seeing their sidewalks for years and years go unmanned, untouched, allowed to crack and, just be covered in snow. And the fact that so much of the money that should be going to that is paying all the wrong people. So it's just like man versus man, man versus nature. It's a form of storytelling for me. And it's just like I am lucky to be, the author and the main character. And I'd be linking with other main characters. We're all main characters. So that's like, and I just be trying to bring the main character out of people.
Well, it's a multiverse.
I
like this.
I was going to say, one of the first things with all the stories I heard, I only hear innovator. I'm being seriously, because I connect with the nerddom of it all. I connect with the curiosity of it all. And also being as the youngest of the family, I also think there's always that expression of like, when you feel, whether you feel you're young in terms of the community or you feel like you're younger to your peers, there's always that idea of like, not just proving myself, but also the idea of being like, okay, this idea may seem new, this approach may seem new, but what I think a lot of people don't realize is that you get to see the people who took the steps before you. You see whether they respected, whether you learned from it or not. You get to see the people who took the steps before you, and you can say, I can innovate on this. I can see it differently. I respect what you did, but here's the path that I've learned from watching these other things. And as a small little note, I also happen to work at New York State Senate, and there's a lot of the best way to say it. There's a lot of credence that needs to come from being in the game longer. So it's like if you're there for 2, 10, whatever amount of years, there's always going to be a little bit of that idea of like, I've been here forever, so you're new. You have to learn, but what do you bring? And I want to know. I can imagine being younger, just in this community. What is it that not only do you feel bring, or also have you seen those approaches? Have you seen those walls of people looking at you being like, hey, you're younger. What do you got? What's this umbrella idea you're bringing as mayor? You know what I mean?
And it's like my youth is such a distraction, and it's a cudgel for the people who got into whatever industry young, but they did it by the book, and that book is outdated.
Yes.
And it was outdated then. And so it's a matter of it's not just about being young. It's about how willing are you to capitulate, and how fast will you capitulate to how we want to do things. And if long term, and this is the big thing. I love this question. It's because like I'm reaching 1 million people a month on Instagram, on TikTok, and people don't understand that the videos that I'm posting are me talking about what I'm going to do. The fact that I can run on so many of the things that I'm running on, whether it be filling in potholes, and I say this to anyone across the country, you could run in most places in America on a platform of filling in potholes. But it's this gap in the system, in our society, in the way we do things, where the problems are the profit. Perpetually. So if there is someone who comes along and he starts to deliver and he's able to document the delivery, it becomes a totally different game. And the fact that I even get to talk about children being mistreated at school, them not being inundated with the most up-to-date technologies or the ways to implement them, that so many of our young families are paying for Uber rides to school, and this is across upstate New York every day. So, and it's just there have been so many wide doors left open that age or experience never allowed these people to fix. And the difference is it's all about trajectory. What sort of trajectory are you on? And on this trajectory, it really is about filling in potholes. It really is about bringing education and, accessible education and the ability to apply the things you learn in the real world and be celebrated for them. And that opportunity for so many people who have not earned that opportunity because they refuse to capitulate. And, and it really is that. And what I'll say is when I ran in 2023, it's like, as long as I'm young, right? And it's like, even before I started running, I was doing very well rapping. Still doing very well rapping. This is what people don't understand. They're like, oh, you running for mayor, oh, you rapping, oh, you telling jokes, oh, you writing books. It's always something. But when I initially ran, and I'll say this about the rap portion. People were telling me, as a kid, oh, you're about being young and rapping is like, oh, it'll never work. And when, you're still waiting for it to work, they'll start telling you, oh, well, you're too old for it to work. So they try to get you, whether you're young, they'll tell you that it's unachievable, you know, and then when you're old, they'll tell you it's unachievable too. Right. So that's something like I came into the contact with, and it's like some of the people, you know, you don't understand. And, you know, I'm saying this because it's real. 30, 40, 50, 60, 70, 80, we're alive.
Yes,
you know, it's possibility. And you know, we're, you know, so that's a big thing. Yes. But even when I first ran for office, I ran for Schenectady City Council in 2023. In 2020, I was one of the biggest Bernie Sanders organizers in the country, especially in upstate New York. So, and that's 2020. 2023, I run for Schenectady City Council, and they're telling me I'm too young. They're telling me I'm too young.
Now, how old were you at the time?
I'm 28 now. 20 minus 2 years, 25?
26 years.
Yeah, 25. I stopped keeping track of my age. You know, I'm just waiting to be 30, and then, you know, I'll start counting again.
8 years old, too young.
But I'm like 25. But mind you, same people who were telling me I was too young to be on the city council in 2023 just got replaced in Schenectady by the youngest city councilor ever. And this is someone who has been in the local Democratic Party the whole time. So it's not about age. It's about how are you going to listen to us? And are you going to do what we say? And that's why Schenectady, and like most places, Schenectady's voter turnout is below 30%. You know, so these systems and our society functions on low engagement. So I
personally think that the political spectrum is having a turnabout. We just saw the mayor of New York City change to a younger man. The mayor in Albany, a young woman. We have Jasmine Crockett, AOC. There's so many people starting to see that, and if we go back in time, historically, when we saw a revolution and change happen in this country, oftentimes it was pushed by the young, those who are younger. And you know, it's funny because if you ever look at the pictures of SNCC, during the sit-ins, and you would because they're dressed at that time with ties and hats, you think them to be older. But these are college students. These are young people that stood on justice. And I think you're doing that with that legacy behind you. And in front of you, if you will. And so I think that you're well positioned to have your voice heard because we're starting to see the fallout of following that which is old. The old mindset, and we're seeing horrible things that came with an older mindset. So let me ask you, what do you think that you bring to the table as a younger person in this Schenectady? What do you think? I mean, and you've been mentioning, but give me some specific things that you think that you might bring to the table to help make change happen.
The nuance of how cities even work and how they should work. An ability to connect across community, and Schenectady is very diverse as it's ever been. We also not only do we have long-term diversity, but we have an influx of people from around the world that have started their new home in Schenectady. So understanding, being able to connect with those people, being young and being savvy. I mean, I remember 2 years ago, I went to Schenectady City Council, and it was around the legalization of weed. And my main point to the city councilors, to the mayor, to the city is that we have an industry in marijuana sales, as I called it at that time, because that's what it, where people who should be able to engage in it now freely and fairly are definitely going to be marked out. And it's definitely going to lead to a situation where people we were smoking weed at the same rates, but one population was going to jail more for it. So just even that breakdown, I went there as a young person, early 20s. That was like very, very early. It was like, and I had to tell city councilors like who were the night prior on Google figuring out about marijuana for the first time, figuring out about the pros, and and it's just like people have spent so long focusing on the cons of these things, and they don't understand the positives that they bring. But once they do understand the positives, they only share it with a select few.
Is that something?
So fairness, very big thing. Transparency, another very big thing. And, we deal with, especially there are some questions I get asked in terms of this campaign that I'm as a person, me as a politician, I feel very comfortable with saying I don't know.
Right.
But there are fundamentally things that they don't let you know. So it's like it takes a FOIA request. It takes them being transparent with just where funds are coming from, who is actually paying what. We have a series of programs in Schenectady that is payment in lieu of taxes. So even understanding those things, I am bringing vocabulary and words and a way to ask questions. And it's like it's not only are we attempting to bring answers and solutions, we are enabling a generation of people. Some people who are, I get messages from people in high school who are asking questions in a way that I ask it, and it's because they won't. People, I frankly think people want people to come into this political process, but they don't want to arm them with critical thinking skills. So that's my support base. The people who are engaging with this campaign have to engage with it on the merits, and there are some people who refuse to do that. But that's because it's all this cloak and dagger stuff. Right. So transparency, fairness, and understanding that so many people are ready and willing to do the work, and the work is filling in potholes. The work is paving sidewalks. The work is helping groceries get to our elderly. And the big thing, I get messages from people I went to high school with who now drive DoorDash, and when they hear me speak, we connect once again. We connect because some of them are DoorDash drivers, and they're the ones delivering medicine. To the elderly across upstate New York, and just the fact that we're reliant on these California tech companies that just siphon our resources and then leave our gig workers who are doing driving is the new driving is the new how they used to poop on, flipping a burger. If you don't do this, you're going to end up flipping burgers. If you don't do this, you're going to end up driving Uber. But the thing is, driving is one of the most essential jobs in America. And I know that because it's made so many people billionaires, and the people in upstate New York, their cars are the ones taking the beating. The people in upstate New York, they're the ones losing 30, 40, 60% in fees to these tech companies. So it's about localizing all these things because we need to localize these things because we promise nationwide. We promised a lot of people in my generation that you could be your own boss doing this thing.
Wow.
How dangerous is it to be your own boss? And how can we make that safer? And how can we hold companies that, and it's like the mayor of Schenectady should not be the first one to hold Uber accountable. The mayor of Schenectady should not be the first one to talk about, this or that. But all the same, our people are affected. So it's that nuance. It's being able to use, and my platform is my platform not because I'm the mayor of Schenectady, but it's because, and it's funny because I have a TikTok where my name is Mayor of Schenectady. But anyone could have done that. It's the substance of what we're talking about. And that substance falls on the fact that people allowed it to decay in this way. And they in a real way, the people who I'm running against, they built my platform. They made me. They You made me. Don't be mad at me. Thank you. You know, you made me as much as my mother, father, friends, and mentors. Thank you.
That's amazing. Amazing.
I would like to speak a little bit more on, like, and you can answer this any which way you want, because I have a little bit of an ongoing contention with AI personally. But in reference to what you're speaking about, how like this is, it seems to. There's a half of a blessing what AI kind of provided for the society. There is no longer this, or at least there is a more stringent awareness of this culture of gatekeeping, like you just said, that has have been made known because everyone now has the tools and resources to basically make their own from their own, right? And now, like, I don't know if you heard of, I think Google has a thing called Google Genie as a project, right? In which case you were able to type up a prompt and basically make like a first demo level of a video game world, right? And mind you, you're talking about also like the what is it called? The credentials behind the platform as well. So it's one thing just to type out a certain level or anything like that, but actually understand how the system works and how it can lead us towards the future, right? One to ask, I guess, for you, is there any other way? Actually, I'm losing my question a little bit. But in because of the fact that you've basically platformed in a lot of different ways, and we also see it with Zoran Mandani, and basically how they utilized the influence of social media, right, to kind of like change up the political game. Are we expecting, or do you predict there to be some type of, I guess, social bubble burst when it comes down to politics? In which case, it's going to be run more by the youth.
Well, yes, I think in this moment. You know, because you touched on a lot of things there. I think in this moment, we're receiving and we're seeing so much AI content, and there's this trick that they're doing that they're making the AI content seem lower quality. So it seems to be real because now people are searching for authenticity. I will also say that, you know, the amount of investment that has been made on the federal level, and you know how New York across the state is making way for these data centers long term leaves so many of our communities in a worse off position with higher electric bills, with less clean water, and with destroying entire ecosystems. So I would say in this moment, if we can't find a way to do AI in a way that preserves our environment, or even it's just like, and even it's if you're a climate, you know, like a climate person who's worried about the environment, if you're someone who wants, you know, energy that is renewable, I don't think that the whole push towards green energy and, you know, clean energy was an effort for us to power these AI centers. You know, so that's just something that I bring to people because I don't hear that. And that's like, and once again, I mean, as depending on how political you want to be, it's like, oh, it's a lane, but that is what I'm seeing. I'm seeing that, you know, and like you have people who are on the right who they're like, no, we're going to power it with coal, you know, you know, wild, you know, and then you got people on the left like, oh no, the windmills will do it, you know, but either way, it's a very similar, and it's like this is like the effect on planet Earth because that's and most that's what I think about, you know, because like we're Earthlings, you know, like, and I got a great lyric. I'm a nationalist for Earth, you know, and, you know that's what I'm about. But oh man, dang it's leaving our environments in worse situations, and then I mean just to speak about the creative side of it. So much of what AI is capable of it's only capable of it on the basis that real human beings have put in generations of work. So it's pulling from our content, and the word content can be switched out with data. And our data, these companies, and it's like I loved when Mark Zuckerberg was in front of Congress and they asked him how much money are you making from the sale of user data? And he goes, I don't what time is it? I don't know, dog. You know, but our data, our content, and the way that it's being monetized against us, and you know the way that these social media companies, and they're also contributing, you know, because they're the ones who are pushing this cultural shift towards AI. They're the ones when you post, like, and this is a big thing, because when you post a video online, if Instagram, Facebook, most of these platforms, if it seems like you're trying to lead people off the platform, that goes into the thinking of why it doesn't reach more people. If you're trying to sell your music, it's less likely. If you're trying to tell people to go listen to your music, it's less likely to push you out. If you're saying go listen to my podcast and your podcast is on a different platform, it ices you out. So but all the same, it collects the data of the people who do engage with it and the people who do love the content, and it's depressing us all. And then it'll as easily, it won't let you tell someone to go listen to your song or come listen to the podcast, but it'll share an AI image of Batman and Luffy boxing. So. It's all of those things, and then it's when it comes to the law enforcement aspect of it, and when you're dealing with automated cameras that if you go a mile over the speed limit, $50, and in Schenectady this is a big thing because we fell short in our budget, a budget process that they did short a city council member. A budget process that was one of the longest in Schenectady's history. When they fell short $3 million, the plan to make up those $3 million was to implement automated speed cameras across Schenectady.
Wow.
And so so they see this, they see this as a pathway to being able to extract profit from labor without laborers. So that's going to be one of the biggest things. And when you replace, they're pushing to replace truck drivers with AI trucks, call back to the Logan movie. They had that crazy in the Logan movie, and the Logan movie is real dystopian. But they want AI to serve this purpose that fundamentally, societally, it shouldn't serve. It shouldn't be our accuser, and it shouldn't, because I even have a friend who she's a theoretical physicist. I'm so sorry, Joan. And I don't. She said it's theoretical something, but she's really into. And I'll send you some of her write-ups on AI and how when it's dealing with faces like ours, it misaccuses us. Because we look the same to it. So
honestly,
we just had that.
You're actually reminding me. I don't know if you ever played Stray Dogs 2.
Yeah. Oh yes. Yeah.
It feels like the same exact storyline to that.
So
and that terrifies me.
So facial recognition, and that's what when I and it's AI is that's why we could go into. We just touched on multiple things about AI, but the thing I'm most concerned about is the fact that they implement these things on the local level. That way that they can then unify the system down the line. So, you think it's just Schenectady, you think it's just Miami, you think it's just Los Angeles, you think it's just Niskayuna, you think it's just, but it's not. It's all in preparation for a larger plan where, in an effort to, and it's just you can't call it a justice system, excuse me. It's more of a who can we punish and how can we most efficiently get to the punishment of said offender. And AI aids in that in a very real way.
You mentioned something very important, and please forgive me. You said something about content.
Yeah.
And if you are all liking this content, we want to let you to please, everybody, to like, share, subscribe, and hit all the buttons. Please. And we're sitting here at Various Fields. Please remember to go to www.variousfields.com, where you'll get a chance to see great content with this wonderful human being, Mr. Orlondo Otis Hundley. Yes. And he's a young man running for mayor. This is still Black History Month, and I believe we are making Black history right here in Schenectady. And this is also Super Bowl Sunday, and I'm sure you'll be enjoying this next week, even though you may be watching the Super Bowl this week. But don't forget to watch Various Fields. And I apologize for shoehorning that.
I love that. I love that. That was the best moment to do it.
Did that get in there?
That was smooth. And I'm sure that was the point of the podcast where people were most oh yeah, no, you got him. You better like, share, and subscribe.
Very good.
I'm actually glad that you did that though, because there's something that you remind me of. I'm going to try to connect to the conversations that we've been circling around. It seems to be technology and also just youth in politics. And I remember that, unfortunately for the job, I can't mention any names by name, but there was a senator that at the time was making a speech and all the time. And this has happened maybe a year, maybe 2 years ago. But I remember him, the easiest way to say it was kind of throwing away the idea of Twitch, the account Twitch being dangerous, because effectively they didn't know what it was. It was like, oh, I've just heard of Twitch. And it was after a big deal, something just happened. It was like, oh, the Twitch can't be dangerous. But the reason why I'm mentioning this is that it's obviously a very large multi-billion dollar industry or account that's run by, again, Silicon Valley, tech company kind of thing. But also I think it's one of those things where I see the connection between, again, social media, YouTube. I'm not sure if you're familiar, I'm sure you might be, a YouTuber named Hassan Piker.
Yes,
I believe.
yes.
And he's someone that's on this Twitch platform, which is a streaming platform, very similar to like any other streaming platform they can do. But what I'm seeing a lot more people combining the two of politics into streaming platforms, but also a lot more people combining the idea of politics into social media, where social media, I think the best way to say it now, doesn't feel like media anymore, but feels more like, I think I heard someone say it was like social engagement.
Right.
So that's
social content. Yeah,
social content, where it's less, you aren't engaging as much as you used to be with your peers, as much as you're like, hey, I'm following this one individual who has gained a lot of traction, or I'm following this one person that's becoming more and more and more and more in industry. Anyways, the connection there was more of, do you see that change yourself in terms of politics? Do you see it more as a boon? Do you see it as a negative? Do you see it just neutral? There's so much more technology that's come up in this form, especially without getting too dark. I think there are benefits with some things that we saw in Minneapolis, where we saw the current administration try to spin things, but at the same time, video after video after video is out there in the platform. But just in general, how have you seen technology, especially in the social media realm, affect politics in your own view?
Well, like Hassan Piker is a great place to start because he comes from the Young Turks, and the Young Turks are an outright social media political, platform. Like I would say first of their kind in that way. Absolutely. And so they're on the internet, and they fall under, like, when it comes to YouTube, when it comes to most of these platforms, because Instagram, Threads has, been very out and out about how it doesn't push political content. Twitter, pushes a style of political content, and that's really like just a reaction to Facebook and its history. And I even speak about like political campaigns historically, and like one of my greatest, and like, because this ties back, and this is going to be beautiful how we do this. All right. One of my greatest influences is Martin Luther, and not Martin Luther MLK, obviously, but Martin Luther the monk. And he found a way to use the printing press to change all of Europe. And his ability to use the printing press and to be involved in that media, and to the extent that he wasn't suppressed until he was suppressed, and he had a 3-year span where he couldn't publish anything. But that, in my mind, is very similar into the 2008 Obama campaign and the way he used Facebook. And that 2008 Obama campaign is very instructive for the Trump campaign, unfortunately. Where Bernie could have learned and utilized in a very real way the Young Turks, so many of the left-wing media apparatuses that were forming and being very popular across the country. He decided to go with an older form of media. And so to the, like mainstream media, which is, CNN, Fox News, MSNBC, and the way that they interact with social media is their authoritative sources. So their political content will always be shown to you. And even when you're watching, like say independent media, their algorithm is pushing you towards the mainstream media. So there's a real benefit. And, there's a benefit, and then there's that and a destruction, to independent media. And in this moment, what you're seeing is people who aren't, you have to, like, I'm trying to find the most kosher way to say this, because there's a number of ways that we could talk about it. But there are figures. Hassan has become, to a lot of people, he's reached outside of politics, and that's always the hope. It's not, you don't want to stay in the political realm. You want to enter the societal realm. You want to enter, community. You want to enter, public conversation, and you want it not to be political to talk about you. You want it to just be a conversation.
You talking about being involved with the community. You did something that I thought was courageous, bold. And I would like you to explain a little bit more what the tactic was, where you to bring homelessness to light. You spent the night. Can you?
Yeah. So and this is the funny thing. I'm normally outside at night. Just walking around. So it really is this thing where this past summer, I was just out walking around for hours, and I just ended up talking to people. And I've lived in Schenectady my whole life, and the way in which that we're dealing with homelessness, the way that people are sleeping in front of the library, the way that people are sleeping on the steps of City Hall, the way that they're sleeping in front of the county building, and our train station, and so many other places, there are people sleeping outside, and I've known some of these people, but the population has grown. So I just realized I'm going to spend an entire night outside, and I'm going to talk to these people, whoever's willing to come on camera and speak to me. And I'm just going to be outside all night. And if people want to come talk, and a lot of people did, they got off of work and they came to speak with me. We had thousands of people in the live stream on TikTok and from all across the country. At one point, like people leading up to it, people were saying, "Oh, you're going to get arrested. You're going to get arrested." And like I'm on Instagram Live for like 5 minutes, and a cop car pulls up.
Oh, dear.
And I turn the camera around and I go, "What's up, guys?" I'm ready for a whole different conversation. And they go, "No. We watch you on TikTok."
Beautiful.
No. So as I've been saying, hell emotion.
I gotta tell you, you gave me the ending of I was gonna not nope. You gave me the Jordan Peele movie. Why am I blanking on it now? Get out.
Yes.
When the friend comes in.
Yeah, the ending of Get Out was just flashing my head. So
So and what I found outside speaking, to people who are sleeping outside because that's their reality, is that you see someone who's 50 living on the street, and you think that they're a 50-year-old living on the street. But these are people who you get one charge in your youth, and you're unhireable.
Oh my Lord!
You're unhireable. So you then end up in a cycle that no one really. I mean, it all starts at we have to start with the young. But you have people who are exiting the foster care system, and then there's nothing for them to do. So and then they get one charge, and then they have no family. They have and our government's not their family. You're only as good as what you could do for some people. So you end up on the street, and then it's 30 years later, and you're still there. So it taught and it's like these are things I knew. But I documented the fact that there are people, that are in this situation that never had a chance.
Yes.
They never had a chance, and whether it be someone who was when they were 18 and let out of the foster care system, or it's the veteran who it's the veteran who had no backup as soon as he left the service.
Right.
So it's one system spitting people out with no cushion, nowhere to go, and then we just see it as them. Oh, they're outside, and we don't think too much about it.
But the reason I thought about it even all the more, not just your. We are in the Albany region of New York, and today it's -6 degrees, but it feels like -22 degrees. That type of temperature goes into realms of fatality.
Yes.
And you are bringing light to our most vulnerable citizens.
Yes.
Sometimes we like to other people.
Yes.
And the current administration has been doing he's been doing a job of trying to other people. And so therefore our most vulnerable citizens are overlooked. And you because you put yourself in their place. And I think that's so lacking in the political spectrum, where you are not just speaking empathy, you are literally walking it out.
Absolutely.
And that's something that people are not doing. And in this time, you're bringing that kind of thing, because people are out there now. Right now. And it's horrible. And there should be some resources, and I thank you for bringing that to light.
Yes. Well, and one of the things. Thank you so much for saying that. And the night before, I went to go shoot a promo video, saying that I would be sleeping outside the city hall, and this homeless woman, who her and her partner, they sleep in front of the library, and like everyone, the homeless people in Schenectady, they were like talking about me, and they were like a lot of them, they just got here, so they don't really know who I am. They've never seen me walking around drinking a Modelo at 3 a.m. But she comes up to me and she goes, "Oh, I heard about you." And she goes, "Me and my boyfriend were talking about you last night before we went to sleep." And she goes, "I shouldn't tell you this, but, he thinks you're just going to pull up in a camper and have a cookout." And he goes, you're not going to do anything. And I did not pull up in a camper. And he was the first person to come that next night. And we had an amazing conversation. And the first thing I said to him, I go, "Well, you can see I'm not in a camper." And he had to laugh at that, because, no, all right, you are outside. But it is some people, this is just instructive to the whole campaign. You have to put yourself where people are if you want to even speak to them.
Right.
Well, I'm going to tell you what, I'm going to give a little shout out to some of our staff that are here. We have a gentleman by the name of Paul Rudnick that put himself where you were so that you can be here. So shout out to Paul Rudnick for reaching out to Orlondo and our staff. We also have Nels here, who's doing our filming. We're growing the Various Fields family. And for you to be here for us is amazing.
Yes,
thank you.
Especially during Black History Month. This is just amazing.
This is historic.
Yes, it is. Yes, it is.
This is historic.
We got about 8 minutes left. Listen, is there anything that we did not touch on? Because I did tell you we're going to, we're going to get you at the hard-hitting Various Fields question.
Oh boy!
This is one that you're going to have to strap yourself in for. But is there anything else before we get you at that one?
I guess I'll just get this off my chest. I'm very inspired by professional wrestling.
Okay, all right.
Professional wrestling.
How so?
They were some of, outside of listening to political speeches and genuinely, I view a lot of this stuff as a science to itself.
Right.
And the science of public speaking, as much as I watched Barack Obama, JFK, Martin Luther King, James Baldwin, as much as I watched all of those guys, I'm equally as inspired by people like CM Punk, Stone Cold Steve Austin, just people who, were able to just get people to hear them and, just really get on a mic and just turn it up.
I love the concept of a politics. Come on here, brother. You're going to feel the pain in this campaign. I'm going to bring the pain in campaign for you, brother.
Watching wrestlers, just have oratory back and forth, really inspired me and prepared me for so much of this moment.
So you really are prepared for politics.
And then
battlefield.
Bring me to the ring.
Just as much as comedians inspired me, George Carlin, Dave Chappelle, and just hearing, that's been the through line for me. Just seeing, men, women, people, get in front of crowds and just live out what they their childhood dream. And that's a lot of wrestlers, they grow up wanting to be wrestlers, and then they acquire all these different skill sets just to be a wrestler. And it's just so I just oratory is one of the the skills that, most people need. But I've learned from weird places how to speak to people.
That's wonderful.
Yeah. So, that I just, fun one. Yeah.
Absolutely. And I guess one last question just before we close on out, and also eliminating that little thing that we talked about, like just no longer gatekeeping politics, right? For those that are just entering their voting age, right? What can the youth do to activate their personal communities and their districts?
I would say go to your city council meetings, go to any public hearings, go to anywhere there's a podium. And use that podium to talk about what affects you, and understand that podium is yours. And thanks to social media, when you speak in front of that podium, use that clip of you talking about what your issues are to reach more people and to let more people know that they also can go have their voice heard at those same hearings. And we need to start just filling these hearings, because a lot of these, there are hearings that are behind closed doors, and there are a lot of developmental decisions, like industry-wise, like what goes where. There's a Starbucks going here that are behind closed doors. Yes. But you can find yourself in these hearings having a real effect and bringing more and more people into the process. And not everything is a vote. You don't always need to cast a vote to be involved. There will be elections where you don't feel that your name, you can, co-sign anything. But be involved, be present, because we can change the course of history by just being there.
I like that.
Absolutely.
All right. Sorry we have to do this to you, but here comes the question.
Oh, man. So my dad's making a big deal of this, and I just want to let you know, it's not that crazy a question. There's no right or wrong answer.
Okay.
But if you do answer wrong, we'll cut the video. Question is, do you like waffles?
Yes, I do. Actually, yes, because the syrup
Say it.
gets encased.
No, what?
We're talking about this. This is legitimate. So here's I'm telling you, here's the thing. First off, this is factually and scientifically known. If you don't like waffles, you're evil. And that's I'm sorry, I'm just putting it out there. It's a scientific fact. And you can like French toast, you can like pancakes, but waffles are better. And that's coming from a mayoral candidate, so I just want you to know it's official. Thank you. That's all I need.
I used to always think this was a bit. Now I'm getting nervous. Holy mackerel.
No. And I just I had to think about that, because I had to compare it to pancakes. There's a built-in safety feature.
I've been saying
A safety feature. You don't want it's less of a mess.
that's I can't tell you the amount of
waffle
validation I'm getting.
I give up.
Oh, wow.
Wow. Well, that was good. Well, listen, what's the time there? We got about 3 minutes. We're going to just do our little last words and close out and just say thanks. So we'll go from this way again.
I guess just because you're in the nerd scope as well, what power would best, if you had a superpower that best described your personality, what would it be?
Unfortunately, persuasion. And I refuse to use it. Honestly, I'll be in situations where I feel like just being a little bit more persuasive would, get me there. But if you're not already there, what's the point in persuading you? It's just it's just like you could get. Sometimes you gotta. I would have that power, and my struggle in the series would be when I do and don't use it. And there would be moments in it where I should have used it, and there'll be moments when I don't. But because sometimes you just gotta. I'd rather just if you think you're right, I'm not gonna persuade you. Tell me, please fortify that position.
Right. I love that. Honestly, you can tell you're a writer, because that's perfect.
And it also adds to the fact that you're not evil.
The waffle thing confirmed it.
Because otherwise you'd be like Emma Frost. Right?
Exactly.
No, listen, I want to say from the older generation, I thank you for giving us hope. Sometimes as we get older, we start to look at, the younger youth and we say, my gosh, what's going to happen? And if you are a mirror, or if you are the compass as to where we're pointing, I'm feeling very confident about our future. And I thank you for allowing us to put this great nation in hands that are like yours, and yours specifically.
Well, I just say this. I thank you in your generation for keeping the hope alive. And I'm incredibly honored to be on this platform with you guys, and just the idea that I get to sit next to multiple generations, father and his sons, and just talk about comics, the future, and a bunch of stuff. I just thank you so much.
No, thank you. And I just want to say, same thing going back to you. It's just like the things that are inspiring are just like hearing the empathy in her voice, hearing how innovative it is. And like, again, talking, like you said, it was comics, talking about everything in politics, talking about the writing, talking about the rapping. Yes, one could say that you're in various fields. And that's what thank you so much for watching Various Fields. And we'd love to have you guys. Please don't forget to like, share, and subscribe.
Hit all the buttons.
www.variousfields.com. All right, I'll be there. And listen, get out there and vote. Get this man in office. Schenectady. This is your best out there. We thank you so much. And we'll see you next week.
We'll see you on the next one, y'all.
Peace.